Those of you who listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., will be familiar with Matt Kendrick's Villa voice notes, a 10-minute rambling, audio only, whatever topic Matt wants to take it. But I felt that this one that he's done this afternoon in tribute to Gary Shaw was too good not to share with our YouTube audience as well. Matt knew him very well and spoke of him very highly. He's written a tribute piece this afternoon. He's recorded this piece of audio as well, and it's really worth 6 or 7 minutes of your time. So take a listen to this one from Matt Kendrick. Rest in peace, Gary Shaw.
Hello, voice noters. I'm absolutely devastated to be doing this, but I couldn't let today pass without paying my tribute to Gary Shaw. I wanted to do this off the cuff, but I just don't think I'm going to be capable of doing it. So I think the best thing for me to do is to read a tribute that I've written for the paper and for online, which hopefully will sum up my feelings for Gaz, and hopefully will resonate with many of you who've known him and loved him as well. So yeah, if this sounds like I'm reading it, it's because I am reading it, but I just don't think I could deliver it any other way. So yeah, it's a bit boring compared to my life story. That response, delivered with a trademark cheeky grin, will forever be my enduring memory of Gary Shaw, who tragically passed away at the age of 63 today. By complete chance, me and my dad were sitting a couple of seats apart from the legendary Aston Villa striker at an otherwise empty Midlands Arts Centre cinema room in Cannon Hill Park back in the summer of 2019. Gary was there, resting his heavily bandaged leg on the row in front of us as he convalesced following a knee replacement surgery. Beaming out from the screen in front of us was the critically acclaimed documentary Diego Maradona, Rebel, Hero, Hustler, God. When are we going to see you on that big screen, Gaz? I asked as we sidled over to him for some small talk over the opening credits of the film. This is a bit boring compared to my life story, this, Matt, smiled the darling of Aston Villa. He was only half kidding. Truth be told, I always harboured an ambition of ghostwriting Gary Shaw's autobiography after getting to know him on the Midlands press beat. It wasn't just at Villa Park that you'd rub shoulders with his Claret and Blue royalty. Often you'd find him phoning through Stats and Agbra, Bescott, and even, whisper it softly, St Andrews in his post-career stint for Press Association. There's no way the story of his life would have been anything like some of those boring, sanitised, monotone tomes you can find scattered across the sports section in Waterstones at the Bullring. Not because of my writing, but because of the way he lived his life. The problem with getting Gary Shaw to reveal all, however, was his modesty. There's so many times I've pressed him for tales of yore over a pint at an event, in press boxes across the region, or given him a lift home, only for him to shrug off his legendary status with a self-deprecating laugh. Never mind that. Who have you been upsetting at Villa lately, Matt? Intensely proud of what he achieved in the Claret and Blue and the classic all-white away kit of his beloved Villa, he never made a point of bragging about it. This was an elite footballer who won the First Division title, the European Cup and the European Super Cup, along with PFA Young Player of the Year and European Young Footballer of the Year individual accolades in his early 20s, and yet lived the rest of his life without a single edge of arrogance about all that he had achieved. He'd turn up at supporter events where the love for him from Villa fans of all ages would be off the scale, the type of adulation usually reserved for boy band pin-ups from teenage girls. Yet he'd do his best to politely utter a few words before hurriedly passing the microphone to Dennis Mortimer, Tony Morley, Ken McNaught, one of his chattier 1982 pals, to hold court. Whenever I meet up with Dave Woodall, the editor of the Heroes and Villas fanzine, the conversation invariably turns to Gary, as I can imagine it will do when we get together to toast the life of an icon and a friend very soon. How much would Gary Shaw be worth today? Asks Dave. Every single time. I don't think anybody would be able to afford him. He had absolutely everything. Such a graceful footballer, a humble lad. He was a handsome git as well. He really was. The last time I saw Gary and spent any time in his company was at the start of May, when he was invited as a guest to the Football Writers Association's Midland lunch at the Burlington Hotel in town. He was there to collect the Player of the Season award on behalf of Ollie Watkins, who couldn't make the event. We ended up at the Head of Steam in Temple Street with his former Villa teammate, Gary Thompson, club commentator Mark Regan, and several members of the local press pack, including Brian Dick, our former Birmingham City writer, and Richard Wilford, BBC WM's man with the mic. Gary Shaw true to form, was happy to observe rather than being centre of attention, only piping up occasionally to fire off some Blues-related banter. And it's that mischievous look on his face, enjoying the company of others, and keen to wind us all up that I'm determined to keep in mind as our Claret and Blue family comes to terms with the devastating loss of the ultimate one of our own. A Brummy Aston Villa European Cup winner, no less. You did it, Gaz. You lived it. We loved it. We love you. You're going to read much more erudite tributes to Gary Shaw, the footballer, than this, celebrating his agility, his anticipation and pace, his instinctive partnership with Peter With, his uncanny knack of knowing where the net is on pitches that would be condemned these days. I only caught the very back end of his Villa career, by which time injury had crudely cut him off in his prime. It's a crying shame he could not add to those 79 goals from 213 games. But when he made his final Villa appearance at the age of 26 in a 1-0 home Division 2 win over Ipswich Town on January 16th, 1988, his work was very much done, and then some. I did get one story out of him that day at the Mac just over 5 years ago, and it's a tale you're bound to hear over the next few days. You met him, didn't you, Gaz? Maradona. Don't get me started on that, Matt. He came into the dressing room after our European Super Cup match at the Nou Camp with his minder, and he asked to swap shirts. I was up for it. Of course I was. But Jim Paul, the bloody kit man, wouldn't let me give it him because he'd have to order me a new shirt. Close your eyes and imagine that image of Gary Shaw and Diego Maradona gladly swapping shirts, grudgingly swapping stories over a pint up there in football heaven. The greatest football superstar that ever lived, and Diego Maradona. God bless you, Gaz. Rest in peace.